Ready? Would you all join me in the pledge to allegiance to the flag? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody here this morning. Jeremy, anything from you?
I sent Augie the report this weekend. I'm not sure if he got it to you yet or not, but
Should be in there.
for July we had 93 calls, which is quite a bit for us. So, and we did do several transfers in there. Anytime we do a transfer from Carl or someplace further away, I always do have 2 crews on. So somebody's back for 911. I don't want anybody to think we're not covering the area, so but we are. So we were down at the fairground three nights during the fair. Same time we were sitting at Hume for their festivities. So other than that, got a couple of guys helping us out part-time now as well. So other than that, things are going fairly smooth.
Any questions of Jeremy up there in the north part of the county?
Thank you for coming.
Adam?
You got my report in front of you. For the month, we finished out with 239 911s. When you add in our transfers, we ended up at 305. So average for the month is about 10 a day. Kept us fairly busy. On top of that, we had fair to the month, like Jeremy said. They were down several days. We were out there about every day. Total, about 36 hours that week. We had at least 8 truck, if not multiple, out there. So pretty busy week. We ended up transporting 4 from the fairgrounds and saw about 12 patients total out there. Looking down through our times, average dispatch en route was less than a minute, 0.9. We did have 1 fallout. That was dealt with. But everything pretty much falls in what I would expect to. If you look at our destinations page, there's a couple that I believe are coded wrong because we don't take 911s to Methodist or Barnes. So I believe those transfers were probably miscoded as 911. So in that report, I just, instead of going back there and pulling those out, I would just ignore those couple. Really the only hospitals we transport 911s to are going to be Paris, Terre Haute, Champaign, Danville. But outside of that, we don't go much further unless absolutely needed or we put them in a helicopter and send them there. For classes, we were pretty busy with classes and PR events this month on top of the fair. We saw 72 students total. Between CPR, EMR, we did mutual aid or joint trainings with fire and Paris Community Fire Protection District. So all in all, a pretty busy month. Questions, comments, concerns from me?
Samantha, do you have anything to add?
For those of you that are scanner listeners, there was an Monday the 31st, where if you will remember correctly, they had about 13 911 calls between 7:20 in the morning and 10 something. So we put our 4th rig, we had a crew, we were able to get the 4th rig staff, but one patient did get Paris Fire sent to them, waiting us to free up a truck to get to them, and it was about a 4-minute free up time. But the calls just came back to back to back to back, so it was a very busy morning coming off of the fair week. Everybody kind of wanted a break on Monday morning, and they did not get it for that Monday morning.
Questions of Samantha? Thank you, guys. Scotty, health department, got any issues? Well, it always got issues, right?
No.
Some positives, some
Nothing
negatives?
now, not that I know of.
All right. All right. Why don't we go ahead and talk to Matt about some of the agreements, since you're here, in case you got a boogie. So we have 3 agreements on the agenda. One is for the intergovernmental agreement with Shiloh, and then we have 2 memorandum of understanding with both unions, one with each union. So, Matthew?
Yeah, and Augie, did you
Yes,
get
I
those
got
printed
them.
out? Everybody has a copy of those?
They're in their board packets.
Okay, so, I guess first, since we have Bill here from Shiloh, we can look at the Shiloh agreement for the school resource officer. attorneys have been back and forth, and we've had input from everybody on both sides, but it looks like, I went through it. Everything looks good to me now, the finalized draft of this, and looks like we will be ready to go, ready to go on it, as long as the board is ready to take action on it this week. We should be able to have our school resource officer in place over there the first day of school, during the season.
We couldn't be more excited about it. Thank you.
I'm glad you're here too, so thank you.
Oh, sure. I can come Wednesday if you want me. If you don't think I need to be, but if you want me, I'll be here.
I think we're good.
Just
Unless
talk
there's
to-
something here, I mean, we've been following the session that we had here several months ago, I think pretty much wrapped things up, so.
Our board's already agreed to it. They, after our first
And
meeting,
it wasn't the old one, it's the new one.
well,
That's
so
what
what
we
they,
negotiated.
yes, what they agreed to was the original kind of agreement that we talked. What happened is when the lawyers went back and forth, our lawyer passed away and his son is taking things over. So an old agreement kind of showed up and that had us paying for everything. So we kind of said, wait a second, we're paying the salary.
I
county's
hated
paying
to point
everything.
that out to you, I was just
I
gonna.
know, yeah, well, that probably would have cost me my job.
But
So
in
thank you.
good faith, in good faith, we,
Yeah, so they voted on that months ago, and they're excited. They're, you know, we've been down this road with you guys before and weren't able to come to a deal, so I think it shows a lot of faith on both boards and a lot of trust, and I couldn't be happier. I sat down with my maintenance crew this morning and said, I need this to be an office. Take the copier out, take this out, get a desk, get a computer. We're ready to go. We've got orientation on the 15th, and I'm hoping that he'll be there. We'll kind of introduce him to people that come in. It's a good thing for our district and our community.
and Jeff and you were ready and
Yep.
able and all that.
Yep, we're ready. Ryan Washburn, like I mentioned before, is gonna be the officer that we're putting in that position. Already a certified school resource officer, active shooter instructor. He's, has all the credentials to slide right in there, so it's gonna work out great for all of us. We're excited about it too.
It really is. If you, to get somebody that's, I mean, this is like manna from heaven. You know what I mean? A guy that's certified, there's a limited number of resource officers in the nation, and only about a third of them are certified. So to have a guy that comes in that's certified already and hit the ground running, typically I've been in this process before where you find the guy and then you lose them for 6 months of training, and then when they, you know, there's so many things that happen. For us to have this guy now, we couldn't be happier.
He lives relatively close to the school.
That's right.
He's a Shiloh alum, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coordinating that, and I think we're good to go on Wednesday, unless I'm misreading the crew here.
If you change your mind, shoot me a call or a text, and I'll come down the road.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, thanks, guys. Anything else?
Nope.
All right,
Thank you,
I'll
have a
head
great
back-
day.
Head back to work then. Thanks,
Matt,
guys.
is there anything to update us on? It's pretty, the two memorandum have gone back and forth and passed muster with everybody, so
Yes.
they're on the agenda also.
Yeah, as far as the two MOUs here, I talked several times to Rick Stewart at the end of last week as they were hammering out the final details on these. Not a whole lot changed in it. They had just some verbiage that they changed in a couple of them to make them
Update to jive with the law. too.
Yep, but looking through these, everything looks good on both of them. The union, I believe, has already signed off on their copies of it for both bargaining units, and so whenever the county's ready to take action on it Wednesday, looks like we'll be doing both of those.
And would ask you if you could be there on Wednesday in
Yeah,
case
I
somebody
plan to.
has an additional question as they maybe re-review it. You would be available?
Yeah, I plan on being there.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions?
You might check with Jeff, and either later this week or next week, we need to have a sheriff's committee meeting.
Yep, okay.
Yes.
We need to talk, there's things with the city, get something going on the union negotiations. I mean, we gotta let them know, they gotta meet, and we gotta, we just gotta get going.
Has the county received a notice for the bargaining yet? Have they sent any?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And that's, I think, got held up when they switched to dam.
Probably.
But regardless of that fact, we, like Carl says, we need to
Yeah, get on it.
put the pressure where it goes, and I would think that the unions would like to see it handled also.
Yeah.
So if they would put pressure on their folks, and
Yeah.
maybe the two attorneys can get together, and Rick definitely needs to meet with us to review what we're at, where
Right.
we're going.
Yeah.
And with these new laws, like the leave programs and some of the other stuff, we need to make sure we're all up to date on all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we can talk Wednesday and set up a time, might be next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else there? Okay, till Augie gets back. Is there anything on the animal shelter we should be aware
I
of,
talked
Dan?
to Andrew Friday, everything's fine. Still has a few of the huskies left. Other than that, everything's good shape.
I saw it the other day. They bark a lot, don't
Yes,
they?
they do. Yeah.
So,
See their eyes, real pretty eyes.
yeah, they do have pretty eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were over at the meeting over at the ESDA, and they were walking them up and
Yeah.
down, so.
Yep, everything's fine.
And she does have at least enough help for right now.
Yeah, I'm about the one that's, coaches the, western team at St. Mary's when she goes back, but I'll have to talk to her about that and see if she could still work some, maybe still go to St. Mary's, so.
Look, tell her it looked good on her resume.
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
Is she the one that does the media stuff, or, Facebook stuff, the girl from?
From
Okay.
St. Mary's, yeah. She's really good.
She's nice person, seems to be. Bill, did you have anything, did you have a meeting this morning?
Not a very pleasant conversation with the surgeon at IU Health.
Oh, I was thinking, okay.
No,
Thought maybe you had Charleston meeting.
Yeah, that's
No,
what I was thinking.
that's not that I know of.
Hey,
It's a couple months away.
Can you tell me how to get there? I gotta go next week.
To where?
Aneurysm.
To where?
IU Med Center.
Absolutely. I can give you
Good.
foot by inch directions.
We'll have a meeting on medical issues
I
here.
may just cut my leg off.
You don't wanna hear this one.
I need to go there, so. next week.
Augie, whenever you're ready, we're ready. Okay?
Good.
Okay.
Now, I didn't know, you probably saw it late, but we're gonna talk to the auditor just to make sure if you have any questions that we get them answered. And then we need to, move to accept the meeting on, or the audit on Wednesday. So it's already been sent in and everything, but it'd sure be nice to get any questions that you have answered. Perfect.
Look at it.
Oh, should bring yours.
Yeah, yeah. I got that.
Hi, this is Josh.
Hey, Josh, good morning, Augie. Augie Griffin, Edgar County.
Is the mic button on?
Hey, there. Can you hear me now?
Hello? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hey, it's Augie.
Hey, Augie, it's Josh from Winford. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad.
Awesome. Hey, our phone system is not able to add another caller onto it. So
That's fine.
I know Aaron talked like he might want to jump in, but if you guys are at the same office building, have him run in. If not, why, I'm sure you can handle it.
Yeah, I can handle it. I'll just send him a message real quick saying I'm going to handle it.
Okay, all right. Well, we got the board here at the study session, and so I'm going to hand it off to you.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for letting me be here. I know normally Matt is the one who presents to you, but Matt's on sabbatical for the next week. He's been gone since the middle of June, so sorry it's taken so long for us to kind of meet to go through everything. But for those who don't know me, my name's Josh Faber. I'm the senior manager with Whipley. I actually was on Edgar County Audit the first 2 years. We did the audit before it transitioned to Aaron, so I'm pretty familiar with most of you guys, or most of the people at the county and things like that. So what you're gonna hear from me is probably very similar to what you'll hear from Matt. I'm just kinda gonna go briefly over, some of the reports that we do and kind of, the findings and things like that. So, if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. So, do you guys have copies of the reports in front of you, or are you guys just listening, or?
Most of us do.
Most of us do have a copy.
Okay,
I got an extra somewhere.
okay.
Hold on a second there, Josh. I brought a
Yep,
couple
no problem.
extras. Anybody need a to look at? Oh, that's the only two I got. Those are just supplemental.
Yeah, the rest of us have them.
Okay. All right.
Okay, the first few couple things I'll go over aren't going to be necessarily related to the report, but so the first thing that we issue is we issue the audit committee letter. Basically, this just summarizes our responsibility to you guys who are in charge of governance. We basically just show that we're following generally accepted auditing standards, and then we also note that we prepare the financial statements and do the depreciation and pension allocation for the net pension asset. We didn't encounter any disagreements or difficulties during the audit, which is good to know. And then we were, overall pleased with how things went this year. We got things out a little quicker than we did last year, which is always good news. And each year things get smoother and smoother. So that's all we kind of really know on the audit committee letter. Nothing really else on that end. One other thing to note is we do a separate audit for the circuit clerk. We issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, and the only finding that we had associated with that is just the segregation of duties within the office. I think that's pretty standard. No actual compliance findings or anything like that. The third separate report that we issue is the single audit. This is related to the federal grant testing. You guys had $1.1 million of federal grant dollars expended in fiscal year 22. Approximately $787,000 of that was COVID related. And then obviously ARPA was a large part of that, was tested as a major program, as you guys spent about $508,000 of ARPA funds during FY22. So also in that single audit report, we at the end we have our findings, our schedule of findings and question costs. We did have 3 findings for this year. The first one is pretty standard, related to segregation of duties just within the different offices. I think that's been there every year. The second is related to off-the-book accounts for accounts not maintained in the county's accounting system. So all of those accounts that are, held outside the accounting system, and I noted that there was 18 of those different bank accounts that are held outside of the accounting system. I think some of those might be sheriffs, some of those might be county clerks, some of those might be circuit clerks. They're just kind of various different offices that have their own accounts. All the accounts should be maintained in one system, whether or not, I know how it is where, certain offices have certain control over their different accounts. Whether or not it's just, at the end of the year, one entry is made to kind of record the activity for those. Is really all we're looking for. So, basically just record the annual activity for them. That way, nobody's having to give up control of their accounts, or, people don't have to hand over bank statements if they don't want to, that kind of thing. And then the last finding is related to the procurement finding related to ARPA. The uniform guidance requires that there's a procurement policy in place for any expenditures over different thresholds. And since there was no procurement policy in place at the county, we just recommend that the county implement a policy in accordance with the uniform guidance for any future purchases with federal dollars. So that's probably the biggest part to discuss. Were there any questions on those kind of 3 things I just mentioned?
Yeah, Carl's got one.
What page is that documented in here, those 3 findings?
So that's on the single audit report. So that's going to be separate from.
It's not
It's
in.
going to be a separate.
All right.
Issuance from the actual financial report. It's going to be on the report on federal awards. I don't know if you guys have that in front of you as well.
The procurement is,
Do we need to do that?
Should be about 15 pages or so.
it's page 10. Page 10 is the accounts off the, page 11 is procurement. procurement.
Yeah, so page 10 and 11 of that report will kind of document the findings that we had for this year. Just to clarify, that there was no issues with opinions or anything like that. All of our opinions were clean, unmodified opinions. This won't change. There was no question cost on anything, so, there wasn't anything that we deemed to be, non-compliant. It's just, more of the findings related to, they're more significant efficiency findings, just, things to clean up, things to note for future years.
Okay.
If you wanna see that, Carl. Okay. We're
You guys
good.
good with that? All right, awesome. I'll keep moving on for the sake of time. So to kind of give you guys, so that's the first three, the other three, separate reports we issued. Now I'll kind of get into the main actual audit report. So just kind of give you guys an overview of the audit process. We begin the audit by understanding our internal controls. So we kind of go to the different offices that we deem to be, material, and kind of walk through internal control walkthroughs. By doing those walkthroughs, we basically determine what areas of the audit are more risky, and then we do a risk-based audit approach. So we conduct fraud interviews with various members of the county, and then we also use a materiality that we use to do our testing based on the different opinion units of the counties. Those calculations of the materiality are what drives our testing. We confirm a significant amount of the assets, so cash and property taxes and revenues through the state of Illinois and also through other various sources. And then we also incorporate an element of unpredictability as part of the audit to prevent the staff from being accustomed to the specific audit approach. So, 1 year we might test a certain section, but then in another year we might test something completely different, just to kind of change things up a bit to keep it unpredictable. Also, the audit goes through various different layers of review. Obviously we have the in-charge who's kind of doing the initial review, preparing, who's on-site doing the detail, a lot of the detail on-site work. Then there's a manager review, then they'll do a partner review, and then we do quality control review as well. So it goes through various levels of review just to make sure things are being done correctly and we're not missing anything. So overall, we do 13 different county audits in the state. That number continues to grow and seems to be, one of the specialties that I specifically am very involved with. So happy to have you guys as part of as a client of ours. So one of the things, so I'll go through the actual report now, just kind of going through, I'll call out page numbers, and if you guys have any questions along the way, just let me know. So pages 1 through 3 of the audit report is our audit opinion. This, at the top of page 1, we just note that it's a clean, unmodified audit opinion. We didn't have any issues, anything like that. Clean, unmodified, exactly what you guys want. So pages 4 through 12, this is the management's discussion and analysis. It provides basically a 2 years of financial information along with some commentary of the financial activity for the year. I'm not going to go through it in detail, but if there's one thing that you guys read in this report, that would be what I read, because it provides most of the information that's kind of included in the back as well. I'll kind of skip down to pages 17 through 22. This is the governmental fund balance sheet income statement for the county. This is how you guys operate on a normal daily, monthly basis. This is on the modified accrual basis, so this includes payables and receivables, things like that, but it does not include long-term debt, capital assets, things like that. So this is kind of how you guys normally operate without those other full accrual items as well. So then page 17 and 18, this is the governmental funds for your major and non-major funds for basically the balance sheet. At the bottom of page 18, you'll see that your total fund balances are about $22.3 million. Of that, about $1 million is unassigned. So that basically means that of the $22.3 million, all but $1 million is restricted for other purposes. So that $1 million is what you guys have available for general operating purposes. Pages 20 and 21, this breaks out your major and non-major funds again, but instead of the balance sheet, this is the income statement. You'll see at the bottom of page 21, the total net change in fund balances was an increase of about $11.7 million a lot of that is due to, if you look at a couple lines above, the issuance of long-term debt. You guys issued the $10 million of bonds for the jail project. That's largely what increased that number so high. So really about $1.7 million increase. And then if you go to the general fund, on page 20, the net change in fund balance for the general fund was about a $700,000 increase. Any questions on those few pages so far? Otherwise, I'll run through the footnotes real quick for you too. Page 33, note 3, is the cash deposits with financial institutions. So no, we just note that the county had about $24.1 million worth of cash in the bank, and about $1.1 million of that was under collateralized at First Mid Bank and Trust. So just a note for future years to make sure that that all the bank balances are collateralized. A lot of that's due just to timing of when money comes in, but just something to note for future years to make sure all that the banks are properly collateralized. Pension footnote, page 35, pension note 6. This goes for several pages. I'll just kind of note the big items on page 38 at the bottom. It kind of shows from year to year what the pension asset liability changed to. This is for just the regular plan. You guys have 3 plans: the regular plan, the Schlepp plan, and then the Echo plan. For the regular plan, and this is as of a calendar year. All the actuarial statements are done. So the most recent one that was available since the fiscal year end was November 30th, 2022. The most recent one available is as of December 31st, 2021. So obviously, it's 11 months in arrears from the fiscal year end. Obviously, it's a lot. It changes a lot depending on how the market is. So for the fiscal year, you'll see that the regular plan went from a $1.2 million net pension asset to about a $3.4 million net pension asset. As I mentioned, 2021 was a good investment year. That's why, a lot of these are going to raise just because of the investment income that you'll see. So if you scroll down, on my computer, but if you go to page 42, you'll kind of note the same thing for the Schlepp plan. The balance as of this January 1st, 2021 was an asset of about $679,000. Balance as of December 31st, 2021 was an asset of about $1.7 million. So pretty significant increase there as well. And then for the Echo plan is on page 46 at the bottom. There was an asset of about $211,000, increased to an asset of about $663,000 this year.
Can I, hang on, John?
Yes.
So are we funded appropriately for all 3 funds at this point?
Correct. Yes. As of the FY22 audit, everything is properly funded. Obviously, I think the information for the December 31st, 2022 would have been released, I think, back in April. I haven't seen those reports. I know 2022 was a relatively down year for investments, so things might have changed a little bit. I'm not sure if it would have swung entirely to where things are liability now. I'd have to see those actuarial reports to know for sure. But as of the audit date, you guys were 100% funded, and if you go to page, I'm trying to find it quickly for you. If you go to page 55, 56, and 57 of the report, this kind of shows each plan individually, year over year, kind of where things were at. So kind of right in the middle of those pages, you'll see a net investment income line. So in 2021, for the regular plan, there was net investment income about $3.1 million. In 2020, there was about $2.4 million. So that really drives, how things increase. So you can kind of see 3/4 of the way down the net pension liability asset line, how you can see it kind of swings year over year. Because if you go back to 2018, there was a liability of about $1.5 million for that for the regular plan. Now it's about an asset of about $3.4 million. It's funded at 119% for the regular plan. The Schlepp plan is funded at 122%, and the Echo plan's funded at 118%. So overall, you guys are in good shape there. Even if 22 was a bad investment year, I don't think it's going to swing that much. So you should still be in pretty good shape.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Kind of one last thing I'll go through is the long-term debt footnote, which starts on page 48. Just kind of notes, the long-term debt that was issued for the year. Obviously, you guys had the issue for the $10 million for the new jail project. That was really the biggest thing. Other than that, you guys just kind of had your payments for the year. And then pages 48 through 50 kind of detail all of, the debt requirements for the future. Then kind of really the last thing that I'll go over with you guys is on page 53. This is the general fund budget actual schedule. On the far left-hand column, you'll see the budget. You got the county budgeted for a net change in fund balance of the general fund about 13,000, an increase of about 13,000, where it actually had an increase of about 530,000. So that's good news there that general fund did better than expected. And then pages 61 through 88 the breakdown of all the general fund balance sheet and income statement activity. And then after that, all the non-major funds, if you wanted to review that information as well. But just kind of provides those balance sheet income statements for the individual funds.
Can we go back to page 53 for a minute?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you go to the bottom where it talks about fund balances and so forth? Because when Carl and I took office, what was that, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we were a negative 632,000 roughly in that year-end balance, or the beginning.
Yep.
So, you want to tell the board how we're doing?
Yeah, so I know the general fund includes, so if you look at the beginning pages of the audit report, the general fund includes a lot of different funds that are kind of built up into it. I think if you go to page 61 through 88 is probably the biggest area to look, because that kind of breaks out the actual general fund, the specific general fund, compared to all the kind of funds that are combined into it.
Yep.
So I'm looking to see exactly what page it is. Page 73 would probably be the best page to look at, starting on page 73.
Good.
So starting on page 73, you can see the county general fund itself, so just the specific county general fund, not the combining general fund. But you can see at the bottom, the net change in fund balance was an increase of about 530,000. So that's just for that one fund. Obviously that increased quite a bit. The transfers in, 1.6 million helped. But overall, it's increasing, which is, exactly what you want. The fund balance at the year end was about 1.1 million. Of that 1.1 million, pretty much all of it was unassigned and able to be used for general operating purposes. All the other funds kind of commingled into that are specific fee funds that are restricted for a specific purpose. So those really wouldn't be used for general operating purposes, but for the sake of reporting, they're kind of rolled into one. So that line on page 73, that column, is probably the main one to look at as far as the general fund balance year over year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Questions?
Is there any other questions?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And if you guys need anything or have any questions, if anything comes up after you're looking at anything, feel free to let me know. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you and your firm. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Hold
One second.
it, Josh.
Josh, do you have a template or like a nice example of a
Procurement policy.
purchase policy that you can send us?
I can get you an example of a procurement policy to kind of update for the county itself.
Would you send that to Augie, please?
Yes, I will.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anybody else?
All right.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
Take
Have a
care.
good day.
You too. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Okay. Andy, do you have anything?
Oh, all I was gonna say was the Christmas in Paris is talking about wanting to decorate the fence around the courthouse, if it's still gonna be there.
It's supposed to be out of there by October.
Well, I know that. Well, actually, so I had to throw an elbow to even get in there. They're worried about it.
Oh, they're worried about it?
Well, somebody contacted Cindy and I told her, we should be done. We should be done by then.
Yep.
If we're seeing any more major storm damage or
Yeah.
anything else that happens, but.
Do you think it will be done by then?
Well,
Yeah.
that's
I
what
mean, I
they
know
told
it's
me.
scheduled to be done by November, but
No, it's actually mid-October when it's scheduled to be done.
Weather delays or.
I don't know. They're ramping up and going again.
We got additional scaffolding starting to show up too.
Yep.
So they're gonna.
You started that with that
Uh,
last week.
Did they start taking trees down, did they?
I think the weather.
Weather stopped that.
Yeah, I went up there earlier this morning, and, you know, I worried about that all night, how much it was gonna rain, whether it was going to do any work or not, but they're not there.
and speaking about the community Christmas tree,
I think it'll probably come down.
That's what,
I don't think there's any salvaging that.
Yeah,
I've got a note
I
on
mean,
it.
it looks pretty sad right now, and I don't. it
There's
just-
no way the top of that
I
tree.
mean,
can
Yeah,
come
that
out.
doesn't
No.
regenerate. I don't know how you, I don't know.
no,
It just gets squatty.
yeah. I talked to,
Kinda hard to put stuff.
Okay.
yeah, I talked to Randy Peterson last week during the fair, and he had conversation with someone from the chamber, I'm not sure, don't remember who it was, but he was supposed to get back with me, but basically we agreed that it needs to come down, and there's no salvage, and, because there's 8-10 feet of the center, and that's, the center
At the top.
is where,
Yeah.
It'll blow up, bud. Yeah.
where it buds out, so, you know, everybody agrees that it has to come down. And then, I don't know if they wanna try to,
Put another one in
you
there.
know, we'll see. Cause, you know, we'll see, cause our concern is, I brought this up a month ago, about all the trees up there and potential damage that could do to the building and stuff, and that's why the 3 big trees inside the circle are coming down, supposed to come down this week. And then we've got to have further discussion on the linden trees.
There's 2 or 3 of those that need to come down
For
too.
sure, but in general, we need to talk about it,
Right.
yes.
Yep.
My concern is putting, other than a temporary tree up there, is there's still gonna be pulling out, hauling out, and redoing that area, and I'm not sure you could replant a tree this year, it may have
Yeah.
to be next year,
Right,
so that would be the only thing I would caution.
right.
'Cause they're
So we
gonna
get
take all the
everything.
gravel out and all
Yeah,
that.
there's just bunches of stuff, and if they put the tree in and then they gotta pull all that stuff out, then that really makes it
Yeah,
problematic.
there's a way.
Anyway, we got off the,
Yeah, no, that's, I said they're moving the scaffolding stuff in now.
Yeah, they worked 3 days last week getting the scaffolding up to do the stonework. And it looks like they got all that done last week. I was up there every day looking around.
Those guys ought to be here.
I don't know what the weather's doing with them, but the masons were supposed to show up Wednesday. That was last week. what they
Probably
said.
wanted to get the tree stuff out of the way before.
Well, I think they were just basically waiting for the rest of that scaffolding to go up, and I think with all the scaffolding was supposed to be done on that half by Wednesday, so they just said it was Wednesday. They're waiting, shows rain and storms on Wednesday, so I'm not
Right.
sure.
And then we got the trees coming out, so they might not be.
Well, they could still kind of, I don't know.
I
know how
wouldn't
it's
want to be
gonna
on
go.
the scaffolding when they're cutting trees in case something goes wrong.
Right.
So, and we addressed that with CORE, made them aware of it, and they're aware of it.
they're gonna coordinate it.
Yeah.
insurance wise, I was hoping Russ would be here, maybe we'd stick around afterwards, and discuss something on the insurance. But we gotta do something about that fairly quick.
It's on the
Well,
agenda to
It's
approve,
on the agenda for
because we have
Wednesday.
to. I mean, we don't have.
No,
any-
that's fine, I just wanna figure out what we do going forward.
The one thing I did talk to Kirk about is a child's play. You know, what, Kid Care? And he was gonna see if they had something that might be available, like it used to be. I don't know whether it's still called Kid Care.
I was gonna say,
Kid Care's a government
that's a
program.
government program.
Well,
But you mean
that's the
something
one-
along that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Something like
okay,
that.
Yes.
okay.
So he was, yeah, let me check on that, because I think maybe there might be an answer there.
Okay.
He was concerned about it syncing with, synchronizing with the program we got. So I don't know. Go
So my
ahead.
question is then, for Wednesday, if we're all in agreement, then we would go ahead and pass for what was being proposed, but if we ended up with an additional plan that in our dreams would encompass spouses and children, then that would be later.
I don't think you're gonna get that this year. I just don't think, I mean, that's gonna take, when I talked to Kirk, he talked like everybody has the same question of him, and there really isn't a good answer for that.
See, the issue with us, and look, if you look at our total plan cost, it's the same as most everybody else. The city dove into about 15 years ago or so, and they decided to, back then, contribute what they're contributed, which is different than what we're contributing. That's the main difference in the plan.
But they don't have nearly the amount of employees that we
Yeah,
have.
and they wish they didn't have
Right.
it now. They wish they didn't
They
have it
haven't
now
done
either.
that, yeah.
Of course, they can say that, but they don't know how many good employees they would have lost within the 15 years either.
Well, that's true. But you're looking at $500,000 difference in premiums.
How many employees does the county have?
138 roughly. Because that includes the health department, and, all the departments, so. It's just, there's just no good answer right now at this time, but we've found.
Every company, every place out there, I mean, they insure the person who works for them for an amount, but when you start to add the family, that's when it becomes almost impossible.
Ours is so skewed though. I don't know why.
But the
I'm not saying
the
this.
city-
I guess
They all are.
They all are.
I don't know, I guess that NAL's not a good example, but theirs is not near the difference in between spouse to employee. But I
You
guess
mean
that's a
actually employee cost?
well, what you add a person, if you add your spouse on there, it's not like twice what it costs the employee.
Well, but see, you don't know what they're underwriting the player for.
That's what I said, it's not a good example.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they could be paying exactly the same thing we are.
Yeah, 'cause we got that, what
Yeah.
the city was paying on like family, it's the same, just the city is paying the,
It's within a
Premium.
couple bucks,
yeah.
you know?
I'll still never understand why, if all in, say the county pays, an employee pays $700 for the employee, why is it $1,200
Right.
to add a spouse?
Well, yeah,
That just makes no sense, it should be, to me,
We got the same
$700.
problem.
It just, it's more than, it's more than the employee with both sides
I
paying
have
for
one
it, it
that's
doesn't make any
1,400.
sense.
My wife pays 300.
well,
It's ridiculous. It's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So what you're saying, when, in the conversation you had with Kirk, this year, where he's not gonna be able to come up with any magical thing
I
to
don't know.
save
No.
costs on that.
unless there's an additional policy that would not conflict with the policy we currently, or will be approving.
But I can't, I mean, think about that logistically, that doesn't make sense either. So,
Well-
you got nobody insured, now you're gonna insure an entity that,
Well, but, and maybe I'm thinking pie in the sky, but I was thinking if you could somehow offer and subsidize, like if you've got a truck that you're driving, but you wanna drive your other truck fishing. Okay, I'm just saying
Right.
that you have to pay for this one truck and then maybe you can get this other truck for less and subsidize part of that and at least offer it to the employees as something that might, at least for the children. I'm just,
Right.
we're exploring every possibility. Probably a bad analogy, but it's just totally separate.
Right. And I don't know whether you partner with someone in the area, I don't know.
I don't know.
There's just areas that need to be explored.
What do we need next year? Look at bidding it out? I mean,
Yes, I
Yeah.
think so.
you know, see what other,
I think so too. Be a good
See.
I'll
idea.
tell you what, that, I tried that a couple of years ago.
right,
And we didn't get much,
Well-
but that has to do with,
With your
Area-
agent of record.
right, and we need to deal with that.
We do need to, I already,
Usually give you a good deal the first year, then second year it goes
yeah,
double.
they take all kinds of discounts your first year and they start taking them away as years go on.
And just if you do that, just watch the deductible.
Well,
Because
yeah,
our
we-
policies are in the middle of the year. If you switch to somebody else, it can reset the deductible in the middle of the year.
Yeah, and that way you gotta come up with
Yeah.
whatever you gotta
Right
spend.
now, like I said, I know a couple of us here don't pay anything because we met our deductible for the year. But if you change providers in October, now it reset until the end of the year.
I don't think that, it has to
We got
continue.
that one worked out.
Right, yeah.
But we still have to work that out. I'd still rather see our program start at the beginning of the fiscal year
Oh, yeah,
or
too.
the calendar year. And just,
That way, when you start one
right.
for everybody.
And UCCI has no,
I think they go into health.
you would think that as
Yeah.
large as they are and as many as they represent, that they would have undertaken
I will say that the current plan has been fairly stable for the last three or 4 years,
Remember when it first?
which is a godsend.
Yeah.
Because he was telling me that some of the premiums have gone up 25 to 30%. And with the 2% increase, it certainly helps.
yeah, I'm looking at this and it's only a 2% increase.
Which is good, it's good.
them.
Well, we even had one year where it was down, what, 1% or something? And then the others have been, I don't think we've had more than a 3% increase in the
I
last-
can't imagine that you'd have
4
only a
years.
2% increase with inflation. I mean, that's, inflation would indicate a inflationary increase.
Yeah.
I mean, so, that's not bad.
But our experience compared to what it was 4 or 5 years ago has really, really changed.
Yeah.
Or
can't-
improved.
I can't think of the term, but when he did that, does he go in and take a look at the, at our staff and age and demographic and all that?
And
Every year, or every time he bids this?
history, the claims history, and
Yeah.
you know, put it all on the computer and it spits out about how much more we're gonna pay. Yeah.
Well, our risk has decreased by 4%.
Carl? You have anything?
Did you want to address, one of you want to address the extra costs with these options for the roof? So everybody's aware of that.
You wanna do it now, you wanna do it Wednesday?
Here, I'm not sure I have it, but
That's what I wanted to
I
make
think
sure.
I do.
This thing right here,
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that.
I wanted to make sure that that was a finalized deal.
It's underneath all my other stuff.
I need more paper. There you go. I want to make sure this is the final one.
That's what I wanted to go over with.
We went with scenario 1, right? Didn't we?
Mhm.
Yes.
The
Scaffolding the entire courthouse, yes.
So we're looking at cost with contingency of basically $526,274 to accomplish all that needs to be accomplished on the masonry, which would be a change order to the current contract. And without contingency, it's 511.
Okay, that's where I want to look at it.
Now, we do have, I've got to
So
find-
you're saying masonry cost is 500,000?
well, that's with the setup, that's with everything.
There's $100-some-thousand worth of scaffolding at that price.
Yeah. It's broken down and we can get this out to everybody by, I'm trying to find,
You tore the sheet off that one, didn't you?
huh?
You tore the cover sheet off that thing. It's probably the one you signed.
Yeah, but I was looking for, basically the price on this contract is Autobahn, which is the masonry people, about 217,000. Greeling's cost would be 182,800, and then Coors would be 111,194. And that would combine to come up with that 525,000 with contingency.
So what's Creelan's cost on it?
They're the ones in charge of the scaffolding. The scaffolding under their contract.
94 or 302.
And there's a little bit additional
Just a contingency.
work they gotta do.
So
That's what
a
I'm
lot of
looking
scaffolding
for.
cost.
I don't know, that's what that, you show 526, I show 528, how come? Which makes me wonder if there's not.
We had
another-
two different ones, and I'm not sure which one.
This is the wrong one, see? Without contingency, it goes up. This is the incorrect one. Okay, see how the contingency, without a contingency, it should go down. Okay, so
Right.
you've got the original one there.
Okay.
What's the total cost of the cap and everything right now?
Right now, it's 1.95 plus this.
Plus
Plus the
another
500.
526,000.
What did we plan on when we originally started?
1.5 million, I think. Originally, they gave us an estimate of 1.5 million.
I just wondered.
And then when it went out to bids, it came in at 1.9.
we had-
And then now they found this addition, once they're up there, they found this additional damage done to the stonework. And that's why the additional 526,000.
Now, there is a contingency in the original contract that would be used, and we've asked them to use it, at least for the masonry of a little over 100,000. So that exists in there, plus, there's another contingency of 63,000, but they've used 10 of that. So there's roughly, let's just say there's, 150,000 available of contingency to defray if nothing else happens, the 530, whatever it is, 526,000.
And you have the demo bids as well.
So,
So this is, with this additional money, it's gonna use up all of our COVID money.
and a little bit more.
And we're gonna have to come up with more. And we were hoping with the elevator project, there'd be COVID money left over to pay for that. That's,
All the elevator projects on hold. And have to be.
And we've asked the contract, or the architect engineers to just kind of hold where they're at until we see what the dust settles and what it looks like after we're done with this project.
Don't have a choice.
So the foundation of the courthouse is in really good shape though, right? I mean, you deal with foundation, you deal with roof, you're,
Right. Foundations, yeah, I mean, there's minor things that are wrong, but they always are in those buildings.
That, the work, the 526 does include a couple of, there's some cracks
Structural.
and structural issues, especially on the southwest side of the courthouse. Above the portico, if you look up in here, there's a crack that they're gonna deal with, okay? And then, as far as the insurance damage, you've noticed that they have double secured. The structural engineer wanted some of that stuff redone and made stronger, and they did that. They're still trying to fight out the insurance claims. Is that a good word?
Right, yeah.
So, we're, for example, the health department, I think the scheduled damage and so forth, the work to repair it is what, $98,000 roughly?
Has CERC started down there yet, do you know?
I haven't seen.
I
it.
believe she said that they've been there for part of it, I think.
Okay.
on the
They're
consent.
replacing the roof on the,
Part of it.
they replaced part of it 6 or 8 years ago.
She said they started that.
So, but they haven't given us, John Tigley's ready to start, but they haven't given us approval for the final figure, is that correct?
Right.
And that's through that program?
No.
Insurance.
Just for insurance?
Just insurance. So, we were talking about that before the meeting, how we can get that moving.
Expedited a little bit.
Yes.
And the insurance guy said he's basically approved them to go ahead and start,
They-
but they haven't approved
started
an
to-
amount.
But they didn't approve the dollar value.
So, we kind of said, probably not. So, I don't understand what they're,
I don't understand how you can say, go ahead,
and I
and not
think,
say, okay, well, then you're covering the entire amount then.
but we need to make sure you
I
guys.
tried to
need
get that in writing from him, and he wouldn't bite.
Well, I don't know, I'm a little bothered that our insurance agent just goes, well, that's up to them.
He told her, and he said, he goes, I'll call him and talk to him. He
We
goes,
need to get some more support from here local.
You still have trouble with the coolers at the health department? Did they call them coolers or something with air conditioning?
I think we've got all those under control.
They're talking about replace those a long
They've
time
got
ago.
to get
but they
some
didn't.
battery backups.
Okay.
The electric's got to be,
They're there now, aren't the battery
the
backups
battery
are on
backups are
pilot
there,
there.
but we got to get power done. So,
I just wondered.
And she got a new bid that was quite a bit lower, which really wasn't necessarily our point. Our point was more, make sure you get another bid. But anyway, so she got that, we approved it, so.
So he's gonna go ahead and,
Yeah.
guy out of
Get the
Kansas, go ahead
wiring
and do it, okay.
yeah.
Cause I told her I'd get Jerry, but haven't been able to get back and get down there, but that's.
And I'm glad that she now has an understanding, has a relationship with you. I think she wouldn't know these things and she just kind of trial by fire. So it's good that she now has that with you.
and she always relied on me to help her, so it was fine, but it's great that you stepped up and went over there. I mean, we really do appreciate that.
Okay, all right, yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, that's a weird deal.
I know.
Because I don't take care of that building, but I'm responsible somewhat for that building, so. But I'm glad to do something. I don't know, has Gary been down there yet?
I haven't seen him.
Okay. He said he came to take care of the windows and stuff down there, so.
Well, let's circle,
Windows did get caulked though.
I haven't.
Yeah, she had reported
I haven't heard
windows
anything.
up. I thought she
The windows did
reported
get caulked.
windows did get caulked.
Good, because Gary's usually pretty good about stuff.
I'll run down by there.
Pretty good, she said. That's a big deal because when.
anyway, back to the courthouse and the additional change order. The building committee went ahead and told them to plan, and so they're initiating that. We're really, at this point, it's pretty much what we gotta do, so. And then circling back to the group health insurance, when we approve it on Wednesday, if it's approved, then it'll be loaded into the Paycom computer. And instead of circulating the sheets, they will go online and approve what they want to do for this year. And they'll be given a time limit and everything. Well, that'll be loaded in the first of next week. Okay?
Jeff, is that gonna be the same as it has in the past, 3 options and?
Yep, it'll all be there, and that's what, yes. No change to that. This, Carl, did we cover that good enough then on the
Mhm.
courthouse?
Yep.
Well, let's see. We have the intergovernmental agreement, the lateral, okay. We talked about, the board did not talk. You know that we have been seeking USDA funds for the remainder of the jail. Given some of the hurdles, and Josh, you can speak to this if they have questions. Some of the hurdles that the USDA is placing in front of it, and the timing and final approval on everything else. We went ahead and checked on actually seeking a bond issue that we already authorized for up to 18 million. The difference in the interest over the years, and this is a very conservative one, and it's included in there, by the way. Carl's looking at it if you haven't seen it, is we're looking at about a $15,000 to $20,000 difference per year. And over the lifetime, interest-wise, we're looking at $362,000, I believe. That's very, very conservative. For example, you're looking at some of those interest rates. You see the first page, you're looking at, I think, 4.75. They're tied to the Treasury notes, and Treasury notes today are 4.05, and then to insure them would be another 30 basis points. So you're looking at somewhere around 430 to 435, 440 is what the interest rates. But she said that the stuff that she has given us extremely conservative. An issuance wouldn't happen till mid-October, but I thought we'd ask the board if they would consider just switching over to that. We'd have control of the entire project, and that way get the feds' fingers out of it. Is that correct?
Yeah. And there's a lot of costs that kind of hard to put in writing or because you'd save as well. Because with the USDA, they've got to approve every bid packet. You've got to go and buy America, that BABA program, that you have to only buy certain things, and they want to review every estimate, every claim. So there's going to be more design. You'll have to spend more CE. So you'll save costs in the end. It's hard for me to tell you how much that would be, but it will be cheaper not having them in there because you drop all that stuff's gone. There's no real review process for USDA because you're not using them. They won't care at all. You just, as long as you pay for it like we're supposed to, we file the invoices through Michael and Core, and we should be fine. So you should save some design, you'll save some construction engineering, and you'll probably save even some
Administrative
a
costs.
lot of administrative costs, and you probably even save a little bit on items because now you can buy a German generator instead of an American generator, because I'm not saying that's what you want to do or something, but they can. There's a lot more options on
It'll
things
be
they can buy.
competitive.
You can be competitive, and there maybe you can get something that would be better because it's quicker, because because you don't have to buy it doesn't have to be American steel, manufactured in the United States. I mean, there's a lot of rules that they put on to use their money nowadays. Not saying that you want to buy, but there's some good products out there. Not saying go out and buy everything Chinese or something, but you should have some cost even savings there. And we've been trying. They said in January we'd be obligated, and it was February, March. Now they're not even. They said September, and that's not going to happen. So I mean, at the rate they're going, I'm not sure you're going to do anything this year if we stick with USDA. They're just taking that long because they'll start to review every bid packet, their final plans, and it takes them weeks.
Augie, there was another page on this, the middle page of this report, which I really wanted to see, and that's my fault for not saying it. I sent you the actual email is what I wanted to see also, because she talked about the scenarios and explained it more different. What she's planning on right now, and one more thing, I started watching the Treasury notes now, 10 years, and when I first started watching them, they were 3.92, then they got up to 4.01, and then on Friday I looked at it, it was 4.2. And then this morning it's back down to 4. So I gotta stop doing that, it drives me nuts. So, at any rate, she's figuring on roughly 4.3 in the notes she gave you on page 1. So at any rate, this, by approving that we go out and get everything set up, doesn't give final approval to it, but it lets us go out and find out what, get things set up. There's some expenses involved with it, probably 25 to 30,000, but, you know, I think it's the right thing to do, and that's what I'm proposing.
So if we do that, do we need to secure the money now, or do we need
That's why I was
to
asking.
Yes.
secure the money when we need the money?
That's,
Well,
I had that question too.
well, and remember, we've got 10 million in
Yeah,
an account, and we're still not, we had to pay $37,500, so to get that money, and we started at 9,967,500 or whatever it is, and it's been almost $11 million ever since, because $10,100,000, and we've been paying all of our other fees out of it so far, so we're earning almost 4.5%. So if we get the $8 million in, we're gonna be making, you know, around 4.5% on that money.
We don't have to pay interest on
We'll start having to pay interest next spring,
it.
if we do it for an October sale. Okay?
But we can take that money
And
and
invest it for 6
invest
months.
it and get
Awesome. Okay.
most
I
of it
didn't
back.
realize that.
Right.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
No, that's
Right.
fine, that's why we're talking about it.
Right.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
don't have to do this, we can continue, but I think ultimately, this is gonna be a better thing than.
I just wondered why we were borrowing it now, but we may not need it for another year or two. That was my question.
Well, what happens if bond rates
Right.
go to 7%,
Yeah.
and we can't afford to? And then we've got all of this
Good
stuff
chance.
we've done, and.
I just wondered.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
And the very last column on that page, this year is, you know, it uses, the very first column says 1.445. That's what it was last year, not this current fiscal year. The current fiscal year is gonna be 1.6 million. It's gonna be almost an 11% increase because of the way sales and everything else has been. So that increases the annual from 360 that's left in the last column to another 150,000 this year. And then the following year, it just keeps growing every year. Remember, we thought we were gonna get $1,040,000 out of this deal. And you can see how it's grown. So we need to make sure we've got enough money when we're doing all this so that we can support the other side of law enforcement. I mean, it's not gonna do us any good if we build a new jail and then can't afford the law enforcement to put in it and to handle all the issues out in the county. Does that make sense? So, I just wanted to discuss it before, and we can continue to discuss it. Any questions on Wednesday? And I ask you to consider doing this at this point.
Well, I'm glad we did our due diligence, you two did the due diligence on exploring USDA, because I don't think it would have been very responsible for us to have not looked at that. But I'm also not surprised at your conclusion.
I think we always thought there was a nagging deal on USDA, and we're not gonna cut it loose yet. I mean, okay, we can't afford to, but we can put it on pause and then see if this works out how we think it's going to. Okay?
So do you have any tasks or assignments that you have to do for USDA right now?
There's a few little things. I still gave her the environmental, I've kept some of that stuff moving.
Yeah.
There's a report that she's wanting that we're holding off just a little bit.
Which
But
would
not
involve,
anything big
well,
that
the-
you don't already have in the pipeline?
Whiffley would do a financial analysis. We've tried to make them happy. I don't know what they're looking at, and you know, they send these reports up here somewhere, right? And then questions come back or comments, and instead of you and I talking, if you were analyzing what I gave you, we could talk about it. Well, you can't talk to them about it. You know, it's almost impossible to do. And I think that's kind of like the state and the highway or transportation. They want you to go out and, I guess maybe the law was passed by a bunch of consultants that one likes to make money, okay? So, at any rate, yes, there are things to do, and if we have to do a few of the smaller things, we'll do them. But
I'm doing the easy ones that don't really cost anything, that won't slow it, that will keep it from slowing it down even more.
Okay.
So,
that's that on that. We have a resolution on the recovery funds. It's gonna take about $195,000, but that includes, you know, the judge or the full-time assistant state's attorney. It encompasses the public defender and some of the other things that we had committed to. We're not gonna be able to do the following year, but we went ahead and we're gonna pull that into the general fund if you guys approve that. Let's see, okay, Dr. Shake resigned from the health board. Dr. Lanny Robinson is gonna be nominating her to fill the vacancy.
It's Laney,
Laney, did I say it wrong? I'm sorry.
like you said it like Robinson.
I know, I'm sorry. Laney?
Laney.
Okay. Let's see, and then we put in number 20 just in case the state's attorney have got something worked out for them. And we haven't heard anything yet today, have we?
No.
So that may be taken. So we got, as usual, a lot of things going on. Tax bills were mailed Friday, so if you didn't get them on Saturday, you will see them today.
and they're still not
already.
online.
You what?
They're still not online, but I looked on the website. They're still not up yet, but
Okay.
I'll get my delegated.
Just says the mortgage company, it's our problem.
My mortgage company should take care of it.
We do have,
I don't even do that anyway.
we do have one personnel issue to talk about if you have time, or we can do it on Wednesday. It's up to you folks, one or the other. It's not a bad thing, so it's not bad. It's not a discipline issue, it's another issue, so. All right? You want to do it today? It won't take long.
Done over with.
Is there any, is there a motion to go into executive session for personnel? Andy moves,
Come on, Dan. Get over it.
Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We'll go into closed session. Gary, do you have any questions?
Today, maybe Wednesday.
Bless it.
Okay, we're going.
Oh, we're gonna turn it back to last session.
No.
Okay. Any further business come before the board? Any other public comment?
That's all, sorry.
Then entertain a motion to adjourn. Andy moves, Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay.
You didn't say anything.